Right, hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. I'm really sorry about this, but I lost all my data. Hang on, let me sort out the camera. I lost all my data on my SIM card when I set out for the entire floor, even putting in all the connecting bolts just to tie everything together. I lost all the files for doing all this, for doing all the tarp, for even putting down a 10mm shingle, setting it all out, getting it dead straight, dead square. But I'm just going to go do a basically like a short summary just to show you how I did it, and some of the materials which I used in doing it. So guys, like I was saying in the previous section of the video, so I've got these connecting plates here which mount onto the screw. If I take you down to one of the screws and just show you how they mount on. So they literally, oh excuse the knees, they can sit anywhere on the plate. They can even sit in the centre as long as you've got a 12mm threaded bar with a nut on it, and you've got all this adjustability to be able to manoeuvre it. But what I had to do is, because the plate between here where my thumb is and the base is between 10 to 11mm, it's maybe even a little bit more. What I wanted to do was to have all the joists and the ring beam all the way around the perimeter to sit directly on top of the screw. So all the load bearing is sitting directly on top of those 200mm diameter plates. So what I did, I knew the overall depth of the build and the overall length, so I just cut a series of lengths, what I needed, and then overlap them like this. Okay, so one butts into the other and the other one butts into that. And then when it came to the joins, if there was a join, which there was on the back here, I just oversailed them in both directions. So this one's oversailed and that one's oversailed, and then they're just butted in, and all the weight is spread between there and there. So then the next step was to get one dead straight and dead true all the way through. Don't worry about getting it all level, all that sort of stuff first. It was just a matter of getting it dead straight. So what I did is just simple method by putting a packer on and then just tying it off with a string line, and it goes all the way down to the end there. So then what I did next was, just to get it lovely and straight, was measure the distance from there to there, and the same down there, and it's 47mm. So you can either use an offcut piece of timber, which is this thick, that thick, and then just slide it all the way long, and then if it slides between the string line and your ring beam or whatever you're putting in there, you know then that that side is dead true, dead straight. So then what I did then is then I set off this one, and then what I did after that is that I used a 3-4-5 method, which is just to get it lovely and square. So you'd measure, I did it from internal to internal, so increments of 300mm or 400mm, but you go one way or the other. So I went, I think it was 900 this way, so if you went 3 6s, you'd have to do 4 4s that way, and a measure from that corner to that corner. And if it's dead straight, and so if it worked out to an increment of 500, so from there to there it was a metre. If it was bang on a metre on your pencil line, you know that it was absolutely perfectly square. So then once that one was done, then temporarily just not fixed off, but just kind of clamped there. The next one was to do that one, and then vice versa there. And then your final check is to check from overall corner to overall corner. And I think it measured at 7 meters 888, something like that, from point A to point B, And if it's the same from there to there, which it was, you know then that that is dead square. So then I did the same here for the ring beam. Not the ring beam, sorry, the glulam beam. So this here, all the way through here, is the partition for the bedroom and like a utility room type thing. It's not a kitchen, otherwise we'd have had to have applied for planning permission on this build. But because it's under permitted development, we couldn't put in like a sink and all that sort of stuff in here. So there's going to be a little utility room here, and there a bathroom and a little ensuite there, and then this is going to be the party wall. So that there and this here. So then what I did after that is use the rod to mark out my joist spacings, which are at 400mm centres, and I've come 50mm off of the perimeter to the first joist, and then worked from 400mm centres off where the external wall is going to be coming up. So the external wall is 150mm, but I'll dive into more detail into another video. But that's basically how I did it, guys. I've managed to save some of the files on how I routed and cut out these plates, and it sat directly on top of the screw. I haven't got anything of how I fitted the connecting bolts, but to fit those connecting bolts, it's literally, I think it's an M12 bolt, so just literally a 12mm hole through one side and the other, and then put a washer on this side and a nut and just tightened it up. That's it. But what you can see is that I've staggered them, so one goes towards the bottom, towards the top, bottom, top, bottom, top, bottom, top, and all the way through. You can see it all the way around the perimeter. Okay, so what that does is, if there's any cups in the timber, so exaggerated if it's like this, what you're going to try to do is squeeze it up so it becomes more true, more flat, more square. But timber it's always got some form of undulation in it, so you're never going to get it dead square, but close to it as possible that you can, the better. So then after that was done, and all those were sat back down in position once I tightened up the bolts, it was then time just to check it all once more and then just fix them off. Then fix these off as well with 200mm screws, which I can show you where they are in here. So using these long 200mm timber connecting bolts, and I used 100mm on the plates, so the ones that fix to the ground screws, which are these ones down here. So then the next step after that was to put this tarp down. So all this tarp went down, which is just to stop any weeds coming up through. And then I just put some 10mm chip down just to go over the seams and then around the perimeter to stop it from blowing up. And then after that, it was just setting out for all the joists. And the way I'm doing that, I'm just racking them up. And I've formed up almost like a gauge one here. So then this stop here will come up to a square corner once I've cut it off square. And then the length there is for the offset of your skill saw. So there's no more measuring, it's literally butt it up, sit the circular saw in there, cut it off, work your way all the way up through the process until basically it's all done. But the original spec on this build was going to be 2.4 or within 2.4, 3 full bays, but then the spec has changed and they wanted it to be ever so slightly bigger. So I actually bought those, the joist timbers at 4.8s, so then it worked out I could have got 2 joists out of one, but now we can't. So all those timbers, all the offcuts down there, will just be used for noggins or headers or something like that, but we'll make good use of them. And there's going to be a decking out here where this little bit of OSB is, but that's going to spread virtually from point A to point B down here, but that'll be in a future video. But that's just a very quick summary of how I got to this stage. So now the next stage now is just to infill all these joists and then joist hanger it all off, which all the joist hangers are in here. They're all down here. So all these joist hangers will get fixed and then wrap up around the top of the post, but not the post, sorry, the ring beam and the glulam beam. But what I'm going to do is just to, when I put the floor down, you don't want any sort of discrepancy. You want it to sit in lovely and flat. So once the joist hanger wraps up over the top, or it's going to, I'm just going to mark it out and then just cut that out with a router or skill saw and a chisel all the way through, even on the glulam beam and the next glulam beam, vice versa. So when you come to sit your floor on, so in my case it's a 22mm Egger board, it will sit lovely and flat all the way through. Because the last thing you want is you got a 2 maybe 3mm plate, and then you've got your twist now, which will probably sit up about 5mm, and you don't want any sort of dip in the floor. You want it lovely and flat. Right guys, so like I said, now the next stage is just to infill all these joists. I've got to get the rest of them out from underneath there. They're all down there, and then I'm going to need another, I think it's another 16 joists just to fill in this bay. But I'm going to put another glulam in here, because originally it was going to be 3 bays. That's why I got 3 glulam beams. There's another 2 are over there. But I'm going to probably break it up and put another one either in here or on there, going across there, just to break up the overall span. So the clear span allowance for these timbers is 3.9 meters or 3.8 meters clear span. And from that distance there to that distance there, I think it's dead on 3.9 meters. So you don't really want to go to its maximum. So if I've got a glulam beam there, it's pretty much useless now. So I might as well divide it up there, and then you have a small bay here and a bigger bay here, or I might put it there, and it doesn't really matter. But at least it breaks it up then, and then the clear span from there to there is well within tolerance. All right guys, so like I said, I apologise for not being able to go through the whole process in great detail, but it was just one of those things, and hopefully I can get my camera issue all sorted out, and you'll get some good content, and I hope you like and enjoy this episode.